What's going on, everybody? It is TR Legos fan back here today for a Star Wars video. We're actually going to be doing a showcase slash overview of a mock I built back in 2016 of the Star Wars TIE HU or TIE Hunter. I originally built this mock for the Brick Arms Awaken the Force vehicle contest, and I was actually one of the winners, so I figured it might be a cool idea to give you guys an in-depth look at this mock in a video. But before I go any further, I do want to let you guys know that there will be a giveaway at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around until the end for that. So guys, this is actually a ship from Star Wars Legends, which means it is not actually canon in the Star Wars universe, anymore at least. The TIE Hunter was made by the Empire specifically to counter the T-65 X-Wings of the Rebellion, which is why they actually, like the X-Wing, have S-foils, as you can kind of make out here from the unique shape of the wings. Now, I know this is more of a mock showcase and not necessarily a LEGO set review, but I do want to take a quick look at our minifigure here before we continue, and the Brick Arms weapon I armed him with, as incorporating Brick Arms was a requirement for the contest I built this for. For the figures I display with this mock, I usually just use any old Imperial TIE Fighter pilot minifigure, this one in particular being from LEGO set number 75211, the Imperial TIE Fighter from Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's a pretty good version of the TIE Fighter pilot minifigure. I just threw it in for the video because it was one of the more recent ones that I had. And as you can see, back in 2018 when this minifigure was released, they were still using the clone faces for Imperial minifigs. In Star Wars Legends, the pilots of the TIE Hunters were actually Imperial Storm Commandos, which were basically like scout troopers but in black armor. But unfortunately, LEGO has never released a minifig version of that particular character, so I had to make do with a regular old TIE pilot. And finally, the Brick Arms weapon I've chosen to arm this fig with is the overmolded DH-17 Blast Carbine, which is based off, of course, the DH-17 blaster from Star Wars. Like I said before, this was made for a Brick Arms contest, and I did have to incorporate Brick Arms into the build. You'll see more of that later. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get started on the overview of the mock itself. Alright guys, so here you can see the TIE Hunter mock on its stand. Unfortunately, because of the way the wings work, I can't actually display it without the stand, which kind of stinks, but I think the stand looks pretty good overall. As I start to spin the model around, you can get a nice good look at the back, which is kind of unique and very detailed for this particular TIE Fighter design. Now, the front cockpit slash body of the model is kind of simple for mock standards because I wanted to make this build as if it could be an official LEGO set. In fact, the body was actually based off of the LEGO Star Wars Rebels set number 75082, the TIE Advanced prototype. One of the reasons I chose to build this particular TIE Fighter from Star Wars Legends is because I loved how the back looked. It's just had such a unique shape when compared to other TIE Fighters. And of course, the same thing could also be said for the wings. Now you can see the back in a little better of an angle here as I rotate it on the stand and start to turn it around back to the front. The wings are designed kind of like the 2012 LEGO Star Wars TIE Fighter, as they have the tiles around the wings, but the wings themselves are actually made up of LEGO plates. The model can be disconnected from the stand pretty easily, of course, as it's just connected by a single piece, and as I take it off right here, I'll bring it closer to the camera, we can start to get a better look at the front of the model, and we can also answer a question that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about: is it swooshable? And as you can see here, the answer is kind of. The wings on this model are actually quite a bit fragile, so if you swoosh it too hard, they will fall off or start to break, but they can tolerate a little bit of swoosh action, as you just saw. Alright, now we got the model back on the stand so we can take a closer look at some of the details and features of this mock. The first thing I want to point out here are the two other Brick Arms weapons I mentioned earlier. You can see in place of the turbo lasers of the TIE Hunter, I used the Brick Arms minigun cap. Now, you might say they seem a bit out of place considering how this is a Star Wars mock and they don't really have a Star Wars vibe, but I think they fit pretty well. And now you can see how the body of this mock, even though it is based on a LEGO set, does look pretty smooth. It definitely has a nice TIE Fighter-esque flow to it. Now, the next thing I want to demonstrate is how the minifigure fits into the cockpit of this mock. It's pretty basic when it comes to LEGO TIE Fighter standards, especially since a lot of the official LEGO sets operate in a similar way. You can see for the viewport of the ship, as well as the roof on top, I used the official LEGO pieces that were molded for these purposes. And as you can see here, our minifig slides right on in. It has a great fit. I used a technique that's very common among LEGO cockpits, especially in Star Wars, where the figure's legs are just held in place by a modified TIE tile piece. Although I did make the interior of this MOC very cramped, so it can be a little bit awkward to fumble around in there and get the minifigure in the perfect position. Speaking of the interior, let's bring the MOC up a little bit closer to the camera so we can try to get a glimpse in there. It is a little bit difficult considering the pieces I used were a combination of black Lego elements as well as trans red Lego elements to mirror the color and vibe of the iconic TIE Fighter cockpit. So unfortunately, because it is mostly black Lego elements, it's a little dark in there and doesn't show up well on camera. Now for the pilot's controls on this TIE Fighter MOC, I used a standard Lego Battle Droid body piece in dark bluish gray. I think it does the job pretty well. And with all that said and done, let's just close the viewport back up as well as the roof and get this bad boy back on the stand. Which, as simple as it is, it does hold the MOC up quite well, as you can see again here. Alright, now let's take some time to take a closer look at some of the things like the back of the ship, the wings, and the underbelly. So first things first, let's pop this bad boy off the stand and take a look at the underneath of the MOC. It's pretty simple. I mean, there aren't really any details down there. It's pretty much what you would expect for a LEGO TIE Fighter build. Taking a look at the back and top of the ship again, it is very unique, especially when compared to other TIE Fighters. You can see it's stretched out a bit longer, and it also has a squarish, cylindrical shaped thruster, which you don't see too often. Looking back at the wings now, I love the shape of them. They have a sharp triangular design, and I think it's really cool how they angle back into the body of the ship. These designs really stood out to me, and it's a big reason as to why this was the TIE variant I chose to build, among many others from Star Wars Legends and canon. And real quick before I move on, as I put this thing back on the stand, you can see sometimes the model will start to shake and wobble a little bit, which is kind of annoying, but it's not that big a deal. So now I want to talk a little bit about the S-foils. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to design them so that they would fold into the proper defense mode based on the original design of the ship, but you can still fold them a little bit even if it does look kinda silly. Essentially, their range of motion works like this. They will stop when they meet the body of the ship between them, of course, but they can fold upwards to about a 90-degree angle so that they are straight up and down. As you can see, I'm currently doing this right now for all of the wings, and the resulting pose of the ship looks interesting. But it also doesn't really look like a design that would be too realistic. Nevertheless, I did want to demonstrate it here just so you can get an idea of how flexible the wings are. Although, the more I look at it, the design is really starting to grow on me. Alright, well, that's enough of that. Let's get these wings back into their normal position. Since the wings are fragile, like I said, sometimes moving them around can cause them to break, but luckily that didn't happen this time. Well, now that the ship is back to its normal, Legends-accurate appearance, let's get on to my final thoughts and the details of the giveaway I mentioned earlier. Alright guys, well that about does it for this showcase of my custom-built LEGO Star Wars TIE Hunter. But before we say goodbye, let me tell you about this giveaway. I recently won a copy of Halo the Master Chief Collection, but since I already had it, I figured I'd give it to one of you guys. Unfortunately, the code I'm giving away is only valid for the Xbox version of the game, so you won't be able to use this to redeem the version on Steam. To enter this giveaway, you just have to follow these 3 simple steps. First off, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Second, follow me on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description of this video, and that is where I'll be announcing the winner of this giveaway, so you won't want to miss the tweet if it's you. Finally, leave a comment on this video telling me what your favorite Halo game is, or why you're excited to start playing if you never have before. Also, be sure to include your Twitter handle with your comment so I can find and DM you if you win. I will be announcing the winner of this giveaway on Wednesday, December 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there you have it, good luck to everyone who enters. Well guys, that's about it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and be sure to leave a like if you did. Also, as always, feel free to check out my social media links in the description, maybe stop by my Twitch channel for a stream sometime. I stream Halo and occasionally other games every Saturday at 8 p.m. EST, so I hope to see you there. Well, until next time, TR Legos fan, signing off.